Notre Dame just bullied the bully in New Orleans. Final score from the Sugar Bowl. Notre Dame 23, Georgia 10. Now, this is enormous for Notre Dame on a number of levels. Like what we just saw them do in that four-quarter stretch was nothing short of a clinic. What it means for them for the future. This is a program-changing, program-defining, Marcus Freeman stamping kind of win. We're going to talk about all that. We're also going to touch on how we view Georgia after this kind of a loss and where they go from here. First things first, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Make sure you're locked in. Talking a lot about, the playoff going forward. Talking about the greatest sport on the face of the planet every single day. So make sure you're locked in here. We appreciate y'all so much in advance for that. So before we get to this game breakdown, y'all know we value accountability as much as anything else in this world, especially on this show. And your boy here, I picked Georgia to win the football game. Now, to be fair, I did say on multiple occasions, Notre Dame can win this game. But with that being said, I picked Georgia. So when we pick a game wrong, and we were dead wrong about this one, we eat crow. All right, so here we got our trusty crow. We good there, Cato, in the shot? We got our trusty crow right here. We picked Georgia. Notre Dame won the game. Fighting Irish fans, here's our crow right here. Got a nice little piece for us right here. We got more we can chow on later, but that was crow, man. Let's go. Notre Dame dominated this thing. Physically, just what I said at the top, man. They out-bullied the bully. Like, the way that Notre Dame won this football game, I think for a lot of us, was the way you expected Georgia to win this football game. Like, they walked in there and just controlled the trenches. They were the better coach team. They were the more physical team. Like, overall, man, like, they were the team that, again, imposed their will and didn't just, like, get a good lead and find a way to hang on. Like, I love so much that Marcus Freeman and this team found a way to get up, had them on the ropes, and they didn't get tight. Like, you see that so often when you're playing a big dog like a Georgia or another big dog in this sport. You get up and you kind of have this moment like, whoa, we might do this. Comes right around like third quarter, early fourth quarter, and you see teams tense up and play not to lose. That wasn't Notre Dame. They stepped in there, kept throwing haymakers. We got the ball inside of our own 25, own 20. Fake punt kind of situation, not a fake punt. They got the punt team out there. They run the offense back out there. You got Georgia in a blender. They jump off sides, first down. Like, all of that I loved so much because, again, it was playing to win. Shout out Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. I want to say this, though, at the top. Notre Dame, I'm convinced, wins that football game even if Carson Beck's that quarterback for Georgia. Just so we're all on the same page. Like, there's going to be a lot of people trying to backhandedly give Notre Dame credit and say, yeah, well, that's nice, man. They got a limping Georgia team. No. Gunnar Stockton, I thought, played really well. We'll talk more about him as this game progresses. It didn't matter who was playing quarterback for Georgia in this spot. Okay, I got some more things to say about Georgia and the offense, but just make sure, like, Notre Dame, they outright won this football game with how they played on defense. They held Georgia to 62 yards rushing. The leading rusher for Georgia had 38 yards. This was a full-on line of scrimmage domination by Notre Dame up front. All right, just so we're all aligned there. This was a legitimizing win for everything Marcus Freeman has done since getting to South Bend. And honestly, this year as well. Because remember the NIU loss, and we got to revisit it because every single time that Notre Dame takes strides or does something in the context of this season, we got to go back to this because this is what's massively impressive. When they lost to NIU, they were the punchline of college football in week 2. Marcus Freeman can't do it. Riley Leonard's not that good. Are we sure about Notre Dame? And I'll be real here. I participated a little bit in the questioning of Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard is a freaking dog. The dude is gritty as all get out. And I love it so much because, honestly, he's kind of like the antithesis of what you have come to expect from like the traditional Notre Dame quarterback. You think Notre Dame quarterback, you think Golden Boy, you think high-profile recruit, you think, kind of this almost pinkies up feel to him. That's not Riley Leonard. If you thought it was going into this game, you definitely don't think that coming out of this game. Dude was like a 3-star recruit, goes to Duke, transfers to Notre Dame, and gave his heart and soul for 4 quarters to Notre Dame in this thing. Man, seeing him trying to jump over dudes on 3rd and 7 to get a first down, he went out and met the moment here. And we said that going in. Like, if you're Riley Leonard, this is the game you can Notre Dame for. And that's great you beat Indiana. Awesome. That's great you made the college football playoff. Cool. But you came to Notre Dame to have a stage like this in front of America to play one of the best teams that has been, quite frankly, the standard in college football 2 of the last 3 years. And to do what you did, man, make a statement. I don't care about the stat line. I don't care about the completion percentage or the total yards that he threw for. Like, he willed this team in multiple scenarios to win this football game, right? Like fourth and short, there was no question who was taking the ball. And it wasn't so much a big deal they didn't pick up the fourth down, but even outside of fourth down, just short yardage period, it was like, hey, it's going to 13. I know it. You knew it. I promise you Georgia knew it. Didn't matter. Dude, again, just drove his legs, threw his body forward, picked up a first down, and that was essentially the story of the game tonight for me when it comes to Notre Dame. One more thing I'll say here, speaking of how well coached they were, dude, they won the margins. They won the margin against Georgia. What good football teams do. I said this after the Indiana game. Notre Dame consistently just does good football team things. The operation with getting the punt team on and then off the field and then not jumping off sides when Georgia jumps off sides. Again, finding ways to be perfect in the field goal game. They're on the kickback. They won the areas of the game that you have to win to take down a talented roster like Georgia. So going forward here, man, I just want to revisit when Marcus Freeman got this job at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly goes to LSU, and when Marcus Freeman gets the keys, the overwhelming buzz I heard from social media was like, well, hey, good for Marcus Freeman. He's a rising star in the sport. He was going to be a head coach at some point. However, that job, man, it's got a ceiling to it. South Bend, Indiana, can you really compete for national titles there? I mean, we've seen Notre Dame teams historically, make the BCS championship game, good for them. Make the college football playoff, awesome, and then get body bagged by one of those high-profile rosters, usually from like the southeastern part of the United States. Good for him. Job has a ceiling. If there was a ceiling, it was glass, and there is now shards everywhere based on what I just saw Marcus Freeman do. Because I'll tell you what, Georgia, you look at the recruiting rankings, they got better players than Notre Dame from a stars perspective, okay? And this isn't me telling you stars don't matter. That's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm saying is Marcus Freeman found a way to out-coach, out-scheme, and overall, out-utilize his roster versus one of the best rosters in college football, one of the best coaches in college football, and Kirby Smart. And so what this means for the future, man, optically, we should all view Notre Dame differently based on what Marcus Freeman has done there. I think we also need to keep a keen eye on what Notre Dame does on the recruiting trail here going forward, because this is one of those wins now that I don't want to blow it out of proportion because the game just ended a few moments ago, so I want to not be prisoner of the moment here, but this is one of those wins that you can take into a living room and talk to a kid from the southeastern part of the United States who does have 5 stars next to his name, who's maybe between you and some other schools in the SEC or around the southeastern neck of the woods, whether it be ACC or otherwise, and you can make the pitch of like, okay, you can go wherever you want to go. But just understand now, when we went toe-to-toe with that logo, we won. We were the big dog. We won the line of scrimmage. We were the more physical team. So you make your choice now, but don't trick yourself into thinking that you can't accomplish here at Notre Dame what you want to accomplish at a Georgia or other schools alike. I think that's dangerous because Marcus Freeman has proven he will recruit. I think this is only going to be firepower added to his arsenal. It is Coke and Mentos right now in South Bend. So they're going to play Penn State. We're going to break that one down here on this channel in the future, so make sure you're subscribed. Again, make sure you're locked in. The Hard Count was brought to you today by Axia Time. Axia Time, the official timepiece of both the college football playoff and the Heisman Trophy. Axia Time is probably now the best kept secret in college football. Incredible combo of product, quality, and cool designs. No one is doing this right now in the college space. For the college football playoff, Axia has created a series of limited edition timepieces for each of the 12 teams in the college football playoff. You got 2 designs per team and only 100 watches now per design. Go to AxiaTime.com to check out your team's college football playoff timepiece. But listen, y'all, gotta act fast. These are going to sell out. If you're a watch person, you'll see these specs, quickly realize great value that you're getting. If you're not a watch person, do your homework. You'd figure out this is a great deal when it comes to these watches. So check them out at AxiaTime.com. That's AXIATime.com. Commemorate this season in style with a watch that tells so much more than time. That's Notre Dame side of things. On Georgia side of things, there's a lot to unpack. My first thought is, I don't think you lost this game because of Gunnar Stockton. I don't think anybody at Georgia feels that way. What I do think is true is this team, throughout the course of this season, if you watched them play, we all understood, this team's got limitations. Even with Carson Beck in the lineup, this team had limitations. And At times it was the ability to run the football. At times it was the secondary. At times it was just consistency downfield. There's a myriad of things. The biggest thing you point to, what I just said, you probably feel like, okay, we gotta find a way to get some real like game changers on the perimeter. There was nobody, I think, that scared Notre Dame. When you watch that thing back, Notre Dame is right up there in their grill in the secondary. There was no massive cushion of respect for Notre Dame. Now it burned them one time with Arian Smith, but to beat a defense like that with how well put together Notre Dame is, Georgia's going to have to go get some dudes they're going to be taking early in the NFL draft on that, position groups, whether it be, receiver or maybe multiple tight ends going forward. Not to knock the tight end play for Georgia, but like that was the thing for me, was like there was never this fear, I don't think, if you're a Notre Dame fan watching the Georgia offense of like, hey, you could go 80 here. Hey, we got to watch out for the shot play here, the explosive play. It was a grimy effort. It was a gritty effort from Georgia. Nothing to hang their head on. But I do think that we look at the way they build their roster here over the course of this next year to 2 years, that's got to be an emphasis, man. Because if you don't have that kind of juice on the perimeter to challenge these teams and you're forced to play in the box with a Notre Dame or schools alike, it's a tricky way to win. It comes down to margins. It comes down to if you have it on that day. And Georgia, quite frankly, did not have it on this day. And I'll say this, based on this game and based on what we've seen at different points this year, Georgia didn't have it really this year. Now, I also want to make sure we say this. Like, that's not me telling you Georgia couldn't have gone and played for a national championship. I actually had them in my national title game. But I do think now, when we talked about Georgia, the talking point for me was always their traits. Because we said multiple times, like, this Georgia team, are they exceptional at anything? Not necessarily on paper, but do they find ways to win? And they deserve a lot of credit for that. They ran out of gas in this game and ran out of, juice, I suppose, when it comes to this postseason, run, even though this was their first game. I just think that there's something to be said now for this not actually being, the Kirby Smart vintage teams we've come to expect. And that's not me trying to give Georgia a pass by any stretch. But I just think now when we talk about this Georgia team, it's like, hey, they understand, like, they got some things to dial in. When they jumped off sides on that fourth down, that was when I was like, oh, that's not a 2022 national title Georgia operate. That's not a 2023 national title Georgia kind of standard that they typically would adhere to. So I don't think by any stretch of the imagination now that Georgia is dead or going to fall off the face of college football, or that the 12-team playoff and the way the Big Ten, I believe right now, is probably the best conference in college football, changes what the SEC is or Georgia is going forward. But I do think there's some real looking in the mirror that has to happen for Georgia. And in some ways, you would have to imagine maybe some re-emphasizing of that standard to get to where they ultimately want to go. If you're a Georgia man, you won the SEC. Like, there's no way to call this year a failure. But I do think with the standard they set there, the bar that they have set there, there'll be some folks that say that because the national championship is the expectation when you have that G logo. So all in all, man, Notre Dame cannot say enough good things about what they did in this game, and I cannot say too many times how excited I am to watch what they do against Penn State. Marcus Freeman, man, again, give him all his flowers and then some for what he did since NIU to get his team in this position. And this is one of those powder keg wins that could change the trajectory. Definitely changes the optics of Notre Dame Fighting Irish football. This is not the same old Irish. Cato on the ones and twos. Appreciate y'all being dialed in. Appreciate y'all subscribing to this channel and being a part of the show. Get at me on the socials. Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. We appreciate the heck out of y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.